Welcome to another episode of School of Wholesaling, guys. This is Luc Madeus. I'm here with my good friend, William Brobeck, who has now closed his 10th deal. What's going on, William?
Hey, what's going on, Luke? Glad to be here.
Awesome, man. So it's a pleasure to have you here. Everyone that is listening to this podcast right now is going to see power in this interview right now because you have done something and you have had that first reality check happen for you, and now you're at deal number 10. Now, how long have you been doing this, Luke?
I've been doing this probably about 6 months full time.
Awesome. So you've closed 10 deals in 6 months.
10 deals in 6 months, yes.
That's fantastic, man. That's an awesome start, guys. He is like really out here crushing it. So when was your last deal?
My last deal I just closed last week.
Awesome.
On Friday.
Great. So tell us about how it got started. How did you even get into wholesaling, and how did you get that first deal?
All right. So I was actually living out in Arizona, and I had a friend of mine through another MLM company invite me to the Edge event out in Scottsdale with Dean Graziosi and Sean Terry and some of the big dogs. So I'm like, sure, a way to network, why not? So I had gone there because at the time I was involved in credit repairs, so that's where my focus was. So I didn't really, I listened, and it was in the back of my head, and I didn't really pay too much attention to it until I really got, something just kind of started growing in me. After that event, I ended up being homeless and living in my car in San Francisco. So, I mean, times were kind of tough, but I talked with a few friends and made it cross country to where I'm at now in Atlanta. And I started meeting with some people, local RIA meetings, talking with realtors, networking any way that I can, just to kind of put my hands in everywhere, so that way I have a connection everywhere I can. And I started learning. I listened to your podcast, traveling across country, and it inspired me. I have a hard time with public speaking, as I told you that it's something that I need to do. But as far as my first deal, I looked for sale by owners, tax liens. I looked at whatever lead list I could do, Facebook, any kind of marketing that I could find to get that first deal. The first deal I ended up finding, it was a nightmare and a half. It took me about 2 months to close on it. I lost the contract once, but I ended up having such...
I'm sorry for interrupting, but how did you lose that contract? I want to hear it.
Basically, the contract expired. The time ran out. I wasn't able to find a buyer. It needed too much work, and I didn't have the right person. So I still tried. I got it back under contract, and I marketed it on Facebook, and I use Facebook Marketplace. It's the easiest way that I found to not only cultivate leads, but also find buyers as well. But I ended up doing that, and I found a contractor, a handyman, who was like, hey, if you can bring it down to this amount, we can close. So I talked to the lady. We met out at the house and signed the contract, and I made $750 on that deal, which was more than I made in a week working at my 9 to 5.
How much time do you believe you actually spent on that deal? If you were to calculate the amount of time you actually cultivated it.
Full nonstop working on it, probably about, I'd say about a month of working on it. It was a fire damaged property. It was probably about 730 square feet, tiny. But they say you only need one buyer, and that's what I found. I didn't give up after so many people are like, you're never going to sell that. You're never going to find anybody. Hold my beer, watch this.
Hold my beer, watch this. That's awesome. Yo, like, now this actually brings up a really good question, because you brought up a really good point. Most people would at that point to have a deal that's not moving, and then after 30 days pick it up and actually move it. It's pretty impressive. Most people would have put at that point when they got that first challenge. It's like, oh, I got to be like this. Well, let me let it go. And, host it in the court, right? So what do you believe that you have, or that you did, that was different, that helped you get through that part and actually see and receive that $750 reality?
It's all about not giving up. It's just following it through until the end, and I'm not a quitter. I was going to figure out a way to do something to make it work, because I seen the potential to it, and I just had to find that right person and not give up on it. When things get hard, you just go harder.
Awesome. So, what are some challenges? What do you think was the biggest challenge for you to close your first deal?
The biggest challenge for me wasn't even anything in the real estate world. It was more of the family dynamic things that I have going on in my personal life. I'm trying to separate that. As I told you, my wife's battling stage 4 breast cancer, which actually she just found out that she has brain cancer as well. So trying to do that while taking care of 2 kids under the age of 4, while trying to run a business at the same time. People ask me, how do you do what you do? And the reason why is because I can't afford not to. I've got 3 people that are dependent upon me, and if I don't go out there and hustle, they're not going to eat, and I can't have that.
I love it, man. I love it. Like, this is really powerful what you're saying. Every single word that came out of your mouth just now is, just know it has power. You're someone who's not just you're not just doing this because, hey, I want to make a boatload of money. You know what I mean? Everybody wants to make a boatload of money, let's be honest, right? However, you have something like that pushing you. Like, what you just said is such a huge part of why people who are successful become successful, or they actually achieve their goals, is because they're like, I don't have a choice. I have to achieve this goal. And you know what? You could also easily look at it the other way. I don't have a choice. I got to stay working at my 9 to 5. But you're saying, I don't have a choice. I got to build this business. I got to build this future. And that's huge, man. That's huge. So, I'm saying this because I want everybody to know at the end of the day that you go in with the same amount of determination, the same amount of purpose, right, as William has. You're destined to succeed with this. I mean, I wish I could tell everybody there's this magic wand that you find, or this golden key that you get, and then all of a sudden the floodgates of wealth just start, flowing all over you. But that's not the way it works. It takes hard work. A month, man, you got a challenge, and you could have easily said, hey, you know what, forget it, this doesn't work. You said no, and hey, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure when that moment came to you, right, a moment of disappointment, which is very natural, that comes to you, at that moment you realize, man, I'm out of contract, right? And you made that choice, that contract back up. I'm pretty sure you thought about your family, man.
Oh, yeah.
This is just my assumption on it, but that's your why. That's what's pushing you.
That's a lot of diaper money right there.
I hear that, man, for sure. Those diapers are expensive, isn't it? I'll tell you, it's amazing. It really is amazing. Now, let me ask you, so you've done 10 deals since that moment, or 9 deals since that moment, right? Now you have 10 total. So tell me about the second deal. How much easier or how much harder was your second deal after you got your first?
It was a little bit easier because I knew what to look for. I knew what type of property that I'd be focused on, and I duplicated the marketing that I did on the first one and just ramped it up more, and I found a buyer the same way. And it actually happened to be the buyer who purchased my first one. So I just said, hey, I got this one. They were interested in that one too. So I just kind of found out what they were looking for, and kind of went from there. Because my funding partners, it just didn't work out for us. So I found somebody else to assign it to. And I mean, granted, it wasn't five figures in a month or in a deal, but the little ones add up.
Yes, absolutely.
I mean, when you can make over, I made over 20,000 in 5 months. There's people that don't even make that in a year, working a full-time job.
That is awesome. That's like fantastic. Let me ask you this real quick, because I want to know how you really feel right now. Like, really, tell me how you feel. You've done your first deal. You got that $750 check. Okay. Hey, not 5 figures. Hey, you just proven to yourself that you can come out here, do this method, and actually just make money, right? So how did you feel in that first check?
I was beyond excited. I mean, just having that check in my name, that it was for me, and it was for me. I didn't have to answer to nobody. I didn't have to wake up at a certain time. That was mine. That was what I earned. And just to earn something outside of working a standard 9 to 5 job.
That's the reality check. Now, things become real, and it's so real that you literally replicate it 9 more times. So, what do you believe for someone who was where you were 6 months ago? They want to get that first deal, right? What do you believe is something, or what piece of advice would you give him now that you got that reality check, right? And you've taken a step from, I'm just trying to get started, now I'm trying to repeat this and grow. You get what I'm saying? What advice would you give to somebody who is where you are 6 months ago?
Do what now?
What piece of advice would you give to somebody who's getting started and they want their first deal? What advice would you give them now that you're on your first deal, the challenges? What would you give?
One word of advice that I would do is, if you're new, find somebody that's done this before, who has the experience, who has taken the lumps and the trips and the falls. Learn from those people who have already done it, because as long as you duplicate what they're doing, you're going to get the exact same results. And I mean, if you don't oversimplify it, and you just, because it's really easy. I mean, when it all comes down to it, this industry is easy. When you stop focusing on how much am I going to make on an assignment to how many people am I going to help, that's when you'll be blessed beyond compare. I mean, that's just what you got to do. You got to help people. I mean, that's what this industry is about. Yeah, money is great, but I mean, you'll always be blessed with what you need and some, as long as you go and you show and you help others. I mean, do this whole process. I mean, because as far as wholesaling, I'm doing it to build the capital to get into the buy and holds, the fix and flips. I want to scale. I want to invest in apartment complexes, multifamily homes, house homeless veterans. That's where I want to go. I want to give back.
You got to put this in her head, and then at the same time, it's like a lot.
You know, and when you approach your life with purpose, there's that purpose, right?
Yeah.
You can't help but build something amazing. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So definitely, man. Like this is so awesome to actually have you on here and talking about your experiences, your success. Now, I want to ask you this:
Do what?
What do you believe has been the biggest help to you to get you going?
I still had a little hard time hearing you on that one.
Sure. So what do you believe has been the biggest help for you to get you going, to help you get going, to help you do these deals, to help you?
The biggest thing that's helped me get going?
Yeah.
Knowledge. Self-knowledge has been the biggest thing. And if I don't know it and I know somebody that does, I'd rather pay for that knowledge, because that's gonna take that much amount of time away from what I can put that little bit of time learning that something new. I could have somebody that's already done it, already experienced in it, learn from there, take that, integrate it into what I'm doing, so that way I take less time and I can just keep pushing forward, because I mean, 10th deal, it's gotten harder. Like it's now it's just, okay, on to the next one and on to the next one. Like, I mean, it gets easier, but it gets harder at the same time. I mean, this isn't all unicorns and rainbows. I mean, it's hard. I mean, every business is. I mean, the IRS expects you to have a loss for your first 2 years.
First year was really like learning though.
So,
like, you're gonna make a lot of mistakes. You can't be scared.
I'm not afraid to fail.
Time.
Wow.
I'm not afraid to fail multiple times until I get it right.
That's right.
Honestly, I'm mostly self-taught. I took
the key right there. If you guys looking for the golden key, that's the golden key right there. Don't be afraid to fail. Bill, before we first deal, we talked on the phone. I believe we booked the call together, right?
Yeah.
Right. And I remember letting you know, like, hey, man, you do the mentorship, or you just take some action and just listen to the podcast, gain everything that you really need. And you did it. You know what I'm saying? So you are literally a walking testimony. Take action for everybody right now who has analysis paralysis, right? Take action, get to it, And Will, has the podcast been helpful? I don't know if you watch YouTube videos. Has that been helpful to you?
Yeah, the podcast has definitely been helpful. I mean, you're very in depth when it comes to learning the ARV, building up your cash buyers list, driving for dollars. Everything that you do, you do with quality. And I mean, you take your time to make sure that people are educated to the fullest extent. Like with me, I mean, you talked to me on the phone, and actually the day that we had talked, I was headed to that first deal to close it, and actually to sign the contract on it. And I closed on a Monday. My second deal, I had it, and I was closing that Friday. So my first 2 deals were within a week. So a start to the week, an end to the week. And I picked areas that not everybody else is focused on, because mean, it's not really about competition when, I mean, if you can work with somebody else, I mean, that's another thing too. If you're willing to work with somebody else and everybody can contribute, everybody eats. Everybody has a piece of the pie. I mean, 1% of something is zero. I mean, is better than 1% of nothing.
Right, man.
So.
You got it, man. So, I'm so excited for you. I can't wait to hear more. You've done 10 deals in 6 months. And if it's okay with you, if you want to share this information, how much have you made in that time frame?
I've made about 25,000 in the 6 months of doing this.
You get a salary. Like that's I'm just gonna tell you, like, this is the I have so much more coming to you, man. Like, your mentality is so awesome. You're thinking about how you can help people, and that is like the real magnetic energy. Brings positive things at the same time. So it's so awesome to see that. I'm so proud of you, man. I'm excited to have you on the show right now, talking about this. And it's gonna go so far, man. What you're doing right now, what you're doing on this podcast.
You already know going into
see that they can get out there and do it too. Just so we all know. Well, what were you doing? Or what are you doing now? What were you doing before you got your first deal?
I was working for a lawn care company, doing sales, door to door. I mean, it would have been the perfect job for what I was doing, because I was basically driving for dollars just for somebody else. But I think I lasted 3 days before I said, yeah, I can't do this. You guys, your driving is interrupting my driving for dollars. So I took that leap and just went out and just hit the ground running. I mean, I don't suggest it to everybody, but I was tired of listening to somebody else tell me how I was going to live my life, and when I can and can't spend time with my family. That's why, I mean, self-business and entrepreneurship is vital to a happy life. I mean, that's the honest truth, because I mean, I get to travel and I can write it off on as a business expense. I get to spend, I mean, I don't have to wake up 2 o'clock if I don't want to. I get to take my kids to school. I get to see their face. Like, they know who I am. And that's what it's all about.
I got 3 business days.
It is the freedom.
Let's say my seller,
it allows you to.
I got it under contract for 10 days. You're not changing.
That's right. I understand. And that's true, man. And you're doing what you love, so you can never
to do that. I have the right to.
So thank you so much, Will, for coming on here. As a matter of fact,
thank you.
I believe that you are also a part of our Facebook group.
They know that.
Yes.
Pretty much.
I'm going to share this. I'm going to share your story in the group. And thank you again so much for coming on here, guys. Real. You have just heard someone be successful in this. And right now, for those of you on the podcast, you can't see the video. Right? So this is joy. This is joy, guys. So if you're someone right now who's on the fence, if you're somebody who's you're listening to the podcast, you're watching the videos, you're learning, you're educating, you're picking up books, whatever it may be, and you are not taking action, guys, you need to start right now. Okay? Let's get it going. Let's start changing things. We want to change. Change only happens when we take that first step. All right, guys? So that's the show for today, guys. Thank you so much again, William, for coming on. It's been such a pleasure speaking with you, man. You are an awesome guy, and I cannot wait to bring you back on here again when you've hit deal number 100. Okay, we want an update. All right?
Deal. Sounds perfect. Thank you.
All right, brother. You have a blessed day.
All right, you too, Luke.